The Auburn Tigers fall so short against the top team in college basketball.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Darrell, Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend, with me to break down Auburn's narrow loss to the number one team, Houston 73, Auburn 72. Darrell, in a game that Auburn has to feel like they should have won, whether it's free throw shooting that was atrocious for Auburn in the second half, or obviously Keyshawn Hall, your best scorer, being absent down the stretch there. I mean, obviously, tremendous fight by Auburn. I mean, it seemed like there was dagger after dagger that Houston made, and Auburn would crawl back. But it sucks to play the if game, but man, it's hard not to right now.
It's very rare that in a game it jumps off the page at you as to why you lost. It's never really that obvious, and it is obvious as can be in this game. These are not excuses. These are just facts. Auburn played really, really well against the number one team in the country, but walks away from this knowing that they should have won this basketball game because the officials gave them every opportunity at the free throw line. Houston plays a style that is very physical, very punishing. And sometimes, Zach, they get away with that. They do. That's the style they want to play. Sometimes officials don't call that. They let it go. The officials did. Now, I will say this. Under a minute, they swallowed their whistle. And fouls that they were calling earlier, but you cannot complain when you go to the free throw line. How many times? Like 39? I mean, I can't even remember. What was the
33.
total?
They were 21 of 33.
Okay, so you cannot complain about the officials when they gave you 33 free throws and you missed 12. If you want to,
that's awful.
If you want to feel sick about this game, just know that if you hit 2 of those and are still in the upper 60s, which is not a good free throw percentage, you could have won the game. So that's the first reason. The second is, I believe Keyshawn Hall not being on the floor, like you mentioned, the last 4 minutes, especially that last possession where Pettiford took both shots and kind of forced it a little bit. If you've got Hall on the floor, you either let him take those shots, which he's really good at going to the basket and making shots when drawing contact, or I still don't know if they would have called a foul. They probably would have swallowed their whistle. That hurts you. That hurts you. So those
you at least can draw up a set to where, hey, let's let Houston decide. Is it Tahad or Keyshawn? Like, regardless, you're fine with either option. Let's see how they defend it. But like,
I don't like that call. I don't like that call either. I went back when you were doing the open and went back and looked, and there is some – that's not why Auburn lost the game, but I believe number 4 for Houston was out of bounds when he touched the ball, so Auburn would have had 2.6 seconds instead of 1 second, but who knows? The shot selection the last 15 seconds was poor. I don't like the alley-oop to Murphy to try to win the game. But, again, all that being said, just don't stink at the free throw line and make a couple more, or by God, having your best player during crunch time would have been helpful, right? So it's the what if game. You're right, and you can do the what ifs, candies and nuts, all that stuff. It's because of Christmas, but I don't. There's a lot to be gained from this, and we'll talk about that later. But in the moment, Auburn loses this game because of those two things.
Yeah, and look, this is a team. Houston made a 3 late, and it might have been the last points that they scored, where you and I were watching it together. We're like, that's it. That's the dagger. And then Houston doesn't score again. They don't score in the last 2 minutes and 57 seconds of the game. Auburn finishes on a 6-0 run. Like, you got to love, with a new head coach and an entirely new roster, with the exception of Tahad Pettiford, we were all kind of wondering in the back of our minds, like, are we still up there? Are we still one of the better college basketball programs, or is it going to take a second to rebuild? And we talked about it at the half on the Barncast, and the way these kids responded, I think the way Steven coached, like they're in a neutral site game against the number one team in college basketball, and the moment didn't seem too big for any of these kids down the stretch that were playing down the stretch. And that, to me, like when you zoom out and look at the entire season, I actually don't have an issue with this. And I know like there's people making the jokes about so close in the chat or whatever, but like college basketball is a different thing. Like this is all about, can this team peak towards the end of the year? And I got news for you. It absolutely can.
We were worried about that
2 months from now.
Yes. And this was step one. I told you off before we hit record. To me, this was a statement game. This was a game that you could see a team coming together and start to ascend. And this was one of those games that I think answered a lot of questions about this team. You could see the parts becoming, the whole, so to speak, where you could see some things coming together. You could see some light bulbs going on. You could see the potential. You could see this being kind of a glue game. And Auburn's got to clean some things up as far as interior scoring. There's no doubt they've got to, they have got to develop some scoring in the post. I'm still very disappointed with Jovic's game right now. I don't see him contributing like he should. But credit to Elijah Freeman for the last minute and a half kind of defense that he played.
He has exceeded expectations. He
single-handedly caused, I think, 2 turnovers to get Auburn the basketball, to get them within 1. And again, did Auburn hit a big shot? Not really. I mean, not in the last minute and a half. They got some Overton hit some free throws finally, but that'll come. I think that'll come. I think when you got Hall and Pettiford on the floor and you don't give the defense an option to double and shade one, that's what happened. I mean, they doubled to Hod. They went at him. They extended. You can't do that if Hall's in the game. So let's see what happens with that ankle. I seriously doubt he plays Wednesday night against Jackson State and try to get him healthy.
Jackson is not a state.
A president and a general is Jackson, right? And a vice president at one point. And the greatest pop artist of our time is a Jackson.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think they just want him ready for that Vegas tournament, right? I mean, where the lights.
Yeah, it's gonna be super important. It's gonna be super important. Because once again, this is about getting ready for conference play, and the non-conference is loaded, no question about it. But I mean, Tahad, I said all week I thought he'd score 20. He didn't get to 20, but did get to 15. Overton got to 13. Elijah Freeman only scored 7, but the impact was so much higher.
One of the best dunks I've ever seen. That was so much like Jabari's against Jacksonville State in the NCAA tournament. It was so similar. He's a high flyer, man. He's a highlight reel. But I the secondary scoring, Zach, wasn't there, and that's another thing you could say if it would have been Auburn wins.
Yeah,
if Auburn would have had some secondary scoring.
Yeah, SWA had the opportunities too, right? Like he made both of his field goals, but then he was 3 of 8 from the free throw. Like he had every opportunity to do that, and that's just that's frustrating. That's frustrating for sure. As far as what we need to see moving forward, we've kind of already hinted at it a little bit, as well as what's Auburn's record in the next 5 going to be. We'll jump into that in just a moment. Comment who your MVP player of the game was below. We'll touch on that as well. That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. When tip-off started, Auburn was a 7.5-point dog. I would have taken Auburn plus the points every single day. And if you did that, you made some money. And look, for new customers, if your first $5 bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets, Darrell, to use throughout the app. So head over to FanDuel, sign up, and play your game with FanDuel. It's the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets. Darrell, if it's for Auburn football, obviously got 2 games left there. For Auburn basketball, if you want to make the trip to Vegas, you can do that all with our friends at Game Time. It's the only place you use to buy tickets. It's the only place I use to buy tickets. We firmly support Game Time.
Absolutely. I like them for concerts, plays,
Anything.
Not just sporting events. I mean, you have that one-stop shop.
So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that is promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day, even after a loss to the number one team in college basketball. Houston beats Auburn 73-72. As far as player of the game, like, it's hard not to go with Keyshawn Hall just because of another game where he found a way to get to 20, even when he didn't play the entire thing.
Absolutely. And what I like about that, remember, Houston had his number at Central Florida. He struggled against them last year, and I think that was a psychological barrier that he got over. He is him. He's the dude. He's the guy that everybody that plays Auburn will have to game plan and prepare for. And even when you do, remember I told you, Zach, the type of coach that Kelvin Sampson is, that he would design something up to try to take Hall out of the game, and he still got his.
Do it.
That tells
him becoming
me,
the clear primary. I'm sorry, Darrell, go ahead.
I was saying, make no mistake about it. We talked about this on the Barncast. Houston's maybe the best team Auburn will see all year. I mean, they're better than some of the teams in the SEC that were highly, highly ranked.
I mean, Purdue's really good. Arizona's really good, but Houston.
Purdue's really good. Yeah, but Houston, I'm talking about, like, and you said that this is a game you play to get ready for the conference. I don't think anybody in the conference is as good as Houston. I don't.
Sure.
So
they don't seem it right now anyway. That's for sure.
They're so well coached, and they're so physical, and they make it so hard for you to score. And they can score when you body them up, but when they body you up, they throw you off. All that. So saying all that, the officials called the game exactly like Auburn would have wanted them to. They put them to the line 33 times. I mean, that's all you can hope for. Just hit 25 of them. So
yeah. My one concern is, I mean, it seems like we do this every year. It's like, man, if we just made free throws, and I don't know if it's something in the water, if there's something, culturally. I mean, clearly they're going to keep fighting. If you play basketball at Auburn, you're not going to give up, which has been great. But for whatever reason, it seems like in a lot of these last 5 years, it's just been
and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't strategize it. You can't scheme it.
Yeah, it's not like they're not shooting them in the gym.
Exactly. People say, well, they better get on the free throw line for an hour. They are.
I bet they do.
That's the same. If that's the same thing as shooting them in a game, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my opinion of this team shot up tremendously. I had some real concerns about how Auburn would play defensively against teams that had athletic bigs. Houston has that. I thought Murphy did a pretty good job on that. And, I think Coach Pearl did a good job, as far as scheme of limiting that. Offensively around the rim, I'm concerned still. Murphy is not a threat to score at all. And I didn't love that the last play of the game was the out of bounds oop to him.
Yeah.
Don't love that. I know, like, your options aren't great in that situation. I wonder if they could do that over again, if they would take just a deep shot or something.
The problem is you had 1 second. So a lot of those
super limited. Yeah.
Yeah. You throw a lob and hope for a tip. And that's where Auburn not having a big man that can score is a liability, because Jovic isn't going to do that. He probably could get stripped going on the way up, and I'm sorry, that's just what it. He still has T-Rex hands and cannot hold on to the basketball at all.
Right.
Last year you had Cardwell or Broom that could have caught the ball and gone straight up on an oop scenario. So that's why the 2.6 seconds with that play out of bounds gives you a little bit more options where you could throw it to a wing.
Yeah, it looks like they didn't even review that. They reviewed. Was it like a second or 1.8 or whatever? They didn't review what happened under the basket, which seemed pretty close. I don't know if it happened, but it looked pretty close.
I got a question for you, my friend.
Okay.
I'm not trying to second guess, but if you're Emeka Oporum, are you a little bit disappointed? Why not even give him a minute tonight? He has played really good the last 2 games. I get it. Houston's physical, but I mean, I'd like to see him get that oop, right?
Yeah. If you're going to give Jovic 9 minutes, like you're telling me, like, I know you're going to use him differently, but if you're going to find a way to give Jovic 9 minutes, you can give Aporum 9 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. And I mean, again, if you're going to throw an oop to somebody, you recruited Emeka because of his forte of getting oops and the lobs down low when he was in JUCO. And I just think, that would have been a good spot to maybe when Hall wasn't going to come in the game late to get him a couple of minutes. And then if you're going to run that play, run it with him. He's 7 foot. He would have been taller than anybody on the floor.
Yep.
And, for people that are in the chat that are, especially the Houston fans that are saying, Houston won the game. And even though our two best players fouled out, they fouled out because they should have fouled out. They fouled out because they can't guard without fouling. And
are there Houston fans in here?
Yes, there is one.
I hope you guys all support Parker Ainsworth over at Locked On Cougs.
So I think that the reason a lot of that doesn't get called, you get away with that with a lot of other officials. And Don Daly, who's been known to call a lot of fouls, wasn't having any of it. So when you foul, and that's your defensive strategy, you foul out. It's that simple.
All right, let's look at what does Auburn do over the next 5. First, Jackson State.
Oh, obviously they win that game.
Not a State. Then they go.
You've been told to quit making that joke in the chat. Somebody's getting angry about it. Said it's getting
angry about everything.
Yep.
People get angry about everything. I got an email this week from somebody explaining like why it's called state schools or whatever, and I'm like, you're missing the joke, dude.
We need to lighten up a little bit in this country. All right, go. Yeah, have fun.
Okay, Jackson State, and then we don't know the exact opponents, but we will play Oregon and we will play Michigan in Vegas, and then the third game is undecided. It could be a bunch of different teams. Odds are it's going to be a good team. So so that was tricky, and then the 5th one is NC State, which
I'm going to go 3-2.
That'll be a part of the ACC SEC challenge.
Especially after this performance tonight. Of course, it'll depend on if you can get Hall back for that Las Vegas tournament, but I'm going to go at least 3-2. I think Auburn goes 3-2.
Yeah, I'm going to say 4-1. I'm going to say 4-1. There's some wiggle room as far as, you don't know exactly who you're playing, but I think Auburn's in a good spot to win 4 out of their next 5. I don't think that's crazy.
Matchups are a big thing in college basketball, and Houston is a matchup nightmare for Auburn, and Auburn is a nightmare matchup for Houston. It's weird how both teams could be bad matchups for each other, but they are. And so that's why these games are so close. I mean, the game in the NCAA tournament 3 years ago when Auburn was up at halftime, now Houston came out in the second half and blew their doors, but I mean, Auburn last year beats them on the road in Houston, and so I just think that they respect each other. You can tell that. I mean, there's a lot of mutual respect. And I think you made a really good point is in Stephen Pearl's first big game as a coach, he sure didn't look doe-eyed.
Comfortable.
He looked comfortable. Yep.
Which is good. Which is kind of that's what I thought. I don't know. I think I was more excited about him than most people were. But
the only two gripes I have is Emeka not playing any minutes at all, and then the play they drew up. But he may not have a choice with 1 second. You got to just catch and tap. I mean, it's got to be a tap up, a tip in.
Yeah, I mean, are we okay with? I mean, we kind of had 3 chances there, right? Like, were you okay with the other 2? I mean, they were both Tahad just slashing. Are we okay with that?
I am, because I thought that he would either get the layup, that little dipsy-do thing he's been doing going to the rim. They surely weren't going to let him get anything from the perimeter. If you saw how they extended on him. So once they extended on him, he had to put it on the floor and go to the rim, and he thought he could take his guy. What happened was once he got to the block, they doubled. They switched. What does that tell you, Zach, if they doubled? Something was open. But he didn't get – there was contact, but I'm not going to call that with under 10 seconds either. You don't. And so he didn't make his shot. He got blocked from behind, and he didn't get to the free throw line. So, but I like taking it to the rim.
I'm sorry, Darrell. Then this comment presents another angle, which I don't agree with, but I do think it's worth discussing. Amuse says Houston isn't number 1, is all I gathered from this game.
What that does is that discredits the Auburn performance. So I'd really like to understand.
That seems like the intention of the comment.
Yeah, the agenda of that comment is to be more of a slam against Auburn than it is Houston. Houston who cares if Houston's number one at this point? They're a really good basketball team. Is Purdue better? There's a lot of good teams in the top 4 or 5. The bottom line is they're a Final Four caliber team, and they're really good. And yes, we'll see how the rest of this non-conference plays out.
Yeah, and the beauty of it is, I said this after the Memphis exhibition game, is the strength. My favorite thing about this team is it's designed to peak late. The combination of these guys not playing together, as well as several of these guys getting used to playing at this speed. Now, Jovic was part of that conversation. I don't know if that's going to be in the cards this year, which stinks. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope he puts it all together. But right now, he looks lost and very uncomfortable. But then, like, you look at Oporum, right? Like, he's got to be a larger role, I think, especially when you go up against teams with bigs. And then Freeman. Freeman adjusting to this level of play is big. SWA, same thing. So and
they'll only get better. These are games
about how this went.
These are games that expedite that process, in my opinion, right? These are the games that expedite the maturation process of your freshmen and your guys that haven't played now, except for Jovic. And the European game is different. Maybe he's just having a hard time adjusting from the overseas game to here, but he's he's 22 years old. I would have thought he'd have figured it out. And where I'm concerned is it's not what I saw against Houston. He doesn't look to be any better against Bethune-Cookman, Merrimack, or Wofford. That's the problem, right? Those are teams he should be dominating. He looked really good against Memphis. I will say that.
We all did. Everybody on the team did.
Yes. So let's see what happens when, he gets more minutes and if he finally figures it out.
Yeah. Curious to see how Steven responds. Not against Jackson State. I don't think it's going to, especially if Hall, if he does play, I hope he doesn't play much, right? But against Oregon and Michigan, I'm curious to see if we see any changes at the rotation. Some of that has to do with Jovic. Some of that has to do with Emeka. I don't know. I'm curious to see what that looks like over the next few games, because I bet the coaching staff learned a lot about this team. I feel like we certainly did. So that's exciting.
I wanted SWA to start tonight. He didn't. They went with Freeman at the 3 and then Hall at the 4, which is a little bit of an undersized, but we've seen either Jovic
scoring off the bench though. I don't hate that.
I'm going to tell you what, someone makes a really good point in here about Walker when he gets healthy at 6'4", a 6'4" guard that can really stroke it, can really shoot it. He'll probably be 100% healthy by the time SEC play comes around. That may be a hidden gem, a diamond in the rough, Auburn gains coming off the bench. Yeah, because we're not seeing that in Bashir. That's what we thought we had in Bashir. There's a guy coming off the bench that can shoot it, and he's looked lost.
Yeah. Yep. So all in all, in the macro, I'm happy with what we saw. In the micro, obviously, I hate that they lost, and the way that they lost stinks. But this team has a path to get better, and I'm excited about that. So, Darrell, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Follow me on X, Dap6410. 2 shows a week with you, Wednesdays and Fridays. We'll do the live Wednesday night after Jackson State from Neville Arena.
It'll be a late one.
It'll be a late one. And then we'll do our football recap against the Mercer Bears from the press box. So we got a lot going on. I'm going to get that honey and keep that. We need to keep our throats well rested.
Yeah,
right?
I got to keep our voices nice and fresh. Please like the video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. It helps the show out a ton. And if you're listening on audio, please subscribe and leave us a review. It helps the show out a ton. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.